You are live, and we're off. Hi, everyone. I'm already losing my voice. I'm getting all choked up because the Miami Dolphins finally got into the win column Monday evening with a 27-21 victory against the New York Jets. Whole lot happened. Some of it good, some of it not good at all. Obviously, the injury to Tyreek Hill, the big negative, joined by Dante, Collinelli, deputy editor of Miami Dolphins on SI. And as I see here, we're having some sort of, there we go, some folks joining in here. Thanks everyone for joining. We will be going for, we'll see how long we go depending on what kind of crowd we can draw. Hopefully there are a lot of Dolphin fans who are excited about this win because it's a win. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Dante, 27-21 against the Jets. Jets outgained the Dolphins by 104 yards, but the Dolphins won the turnover battle. The Jets also were flagged for 13 penalties, fielded a punt at the 3-yard line, kind of showed everybody why they were still winless under first-year head coach Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the first 3 weeks of the season, right, the Miami Dolphins were the team that couldn't execute, right? Like it was the penalties, situational football, turnovers, all that stuff, right? The Dolphins looked like the unserious team in the room. Well, tonight it was the New York Jets, who did not look like a serious football team for most of this game. And the Dolphins, I think, deserve credit. I think obviously they played their best game of the season in most facets. The defense was better, not perfect, and we can get into that for sure. But it was better than allowing to score on basically every drive. And, you know, turnovers are turnovers. They'll take those. And then offensively, I think the execution was a lot better. I thought the game plan was better, and we can get into that too. I thought there were a lot of interesting takeaways from different formations tonight. But overall, this is a game the Dolphins had to win. They won it. They looked like the better football team at the end of the day, and that's a step in the right direction, whatever you want to make of how it was done.
Okay, let's. There's a lot to unpack before. As always, when we do these live shows, it's going to be about 30 minutes of us discussing the game, and then we'll get to the comments, the questions, and the criticism, whatever you guys want to talk about in the chat. Obviously, we have to lead off with the Tyreek Hill injury, which was pretty gruesome looking. Upon replay, when it first happened, it was like something doesn't look right, but you see the replay, and then the knee kind of jammed up in there, and then got twisted around the wrong way. And Mike McDaniel after the game confirmed it is a dislocated knee, probably some ligament damage as well. Dr. David Chow is a former Chargers team physician who does injury analysis on social media. I believe raised the term career threatening. So this is some nasty stuff we're talking about. So I think first of all, it's that Tyreek's going to be out for quite a while. It's probably not a stretch to suggest that this very well might be season ending and maybe, sadly, maybe career ending. And this is where the Dolphins are going to have to figure out how to manage their offense without Tyreek Hill, who was having a really, really good night at 6 catches for 67 yards, a whole bunch of third down conversions, including the play where he got injured. And before we look forward onto that, what the hell is it with Dolphin night games and major injuries? You think about it. Tua against Cincinnati, Tua against Buffalo, Tyreek Hill against Tennessee in the Monday night game in 2023, where his season started going downhill. I mean, Jesus.
Phillips, right? Last year?
No, that was that was against Tennessee.
That was against Tennessee, yeah.
Yep.
Brutal. Just really bad luck. I don't know. In multiple stadiums, too. Some of them in Miami. I think a couple were on the road, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, like, just bad luck. Really, really, really bad luck.
Yeah. And now this is maybe, I hate even to do it like this, but if the Dolphins are going to transition away from the speedy circus-like type of offense, now they don't have Tyreek to do the speedy, fast stuff, which again was very effective with a new piece on Monday night. The very long-awaited debut of Darren Waller, and I put on social media after his touchdown catch sarcastic remark like, yeah, I think that Darren Waller is going to help the offense. And of course, somebody can't resist to go like, simmer down, it's only one catch. To which I replied, yeah, because we see the type of catch Darren Waller made on his first touchdown all the time here in Miami, that contested catch where he goes over the top of the defender and uses that massive catch radius that he has. Seriously, people, stop it with the obnoxious reactions like that. I know you're trying to be relevant, all that on social media, but seriously, honest question, when's the last time we saw a guy make a contested catch going up like that? Devontae Parker, maybe circa 2019?
That was going to be my poll, or was the Preston Williams preseason hype? That was those were the two polls that I got, or maybe like a Mike Gesicki catch that we were missing from a couple years ago. But regardless of whatever answer you want to provide, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It has not really been a staple of this era. And look, I mean, when it comes to replacing Tyreek Hill, and I wrote a story about this that you guys can go read on Miami Dolphins on SI right now. I get into the short-term implications for the offense, who's going to have to step up, what the offense can look like without Tyreek Hill. And then I get into the long-term implications, which we can talk about in a bit if we want. As for Waller specifically, I think ultimately where he helps you is where you saw him win tonight in the red zone, just converting plays into touchdowns. I think I'm not going to sit here and say I think Darren Waller is going to come in and all of a sudden be a focal point of this offense between the 20s, right? Like I think he'll get more touches there. I think he'll get more opportunities there for sure. But I don't really expect this player to catch, 50, 60 balls this year. I think it's going to be closer to the 30 number, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think where he helps you is, like you said, he gives you something a little bit different in the tighter areas of the field, or if you want to get him one-on-one with a safety in the slot and send him on a vertical and throw the ball up to him that way and let him make a contested catch in that spot, he can do that for you as well. And so to me, I think it gives the Dolphins something else to do. And when you lose a player of Tyreek Hill's caliber, I think ironically, the Dolphins are probably the team best equipped in the league to replace a player by Tyreek Hill. The problem is that Tyreek Hill is an irreplaceable player at the end of the day. You're not going to reproduce the fear of God that he puts into the opposing defense. As much as I like Jalen Waddle, and as much as I think he'll have an opportunity to really prove himself as a premier number one wide receiver for the rest of the season, Tyreek Hill is already proved himself as a premier number one wide receiver. And so it's going to be difficult to replace him, but I don't want that to wash out the positives that you got from Darren Waller tonight. I think that you saw that they had a very intentional plan to use him in the red zone to effectively, hunt those matchups where they thought he was going to be good. And it worked out. And I would expect them to continue to do that. And we'll see him get a little more touches like he did on that early third down play that he converted. I believe that was the first drive that he converted that third down. So very intentional with Waller tonight. They'll expand his role. I don't know that he's going to be some, target hog the rest of the year, but he'll be a part. He'll be a factor for the team. And I think you put it perfectly. It just gives them something else to do, something different, something we haven't seen since Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, which was, really the last staff for the most part. Gesicki had 1 year. So
shout out to my man Ben on social media who pointed out the last time we saw a catch like that, Mike Gesicki at Baltimore, week 2, 2022 season.
There we go.
Great pull, Ben. Yeah, the offense had some nice balance. It's weird because the offense felt almost like it was more efficient than the numbers might suggest, because it finished with 300 total yards, and the Dolphins were 4 for 13 on third down.
I don't think they ran that many plays. I think that's what it came down to. I think the Jets kind of had the ball for a lot.
Well, they did, but it was weird. It was like, there were some lulls there, especially in the second half. And Tua overall had a very, very solid, efficient game. His numbers were very good, 17 for 24, like 117 passer rating. Seemed like he missed a couple of throws in the second half where he did in the first. The touchdown pass to Waller was a great throw. It's a great throw, great catch. It's one of the combination of the two. The other one is like very basic, where the play call completely had the Jets like out of position like nobody's business. It's an easy pitch and catch to Waller. Tua had a couple of scrambles. He had one where he took the shot to the head from the rookie Mauiga. I don't know what else Tua can do there. It's third down. He was scrambling. And he slid the way he's supposed to. the Jets, shocker, were undisciplined and committed a penalty like that. But so overall, it was a good performance from him. On defense, you got to like the takeaways. I mean, hats off to Jack Jones for punching the ball out on the Braylon Allen carry at the end of the first drive inside the 5-yard line. Like, as I put on social media, that to me, I had flashback to Javon Holland versus Jacksonville in week 1 of 2024. And then if you don't know if you notice, KJ Britt, the same thing on a kickoff return that ultimately was determined to not be a fumble, but it was awfully close. It was another same type of deal to punch out. And the other turnover on defense, not as significant, but not. It was a 4th down stop anyway. The Tyrell Dotson forced fumble that Jalen Phillips recovered. I'm happy for Jalen Phillips because, again, he's creating plays for his teammates with his pressure. This one, he was the beneficiary of somebody else's play. And the other, takeaway was Dante Trader Jr. at the start of the second half. And again, I put this on social media and I was like, called a Debbie Downer. Deal with it. But it's nice that the Dolphins won. They beat the Jets, which I'm sorry, not a good team. Not a good team when you commit 13 penalties, false starts all over the place, fielding a punt at the inside the 5-yard line late in the fourth quarter, and then the coaching decisions. 4th and 10 from their own 31, like 7 minutes left. You're down by 13. Really, you're going to punt? I mean, a whole lot of things didn't make a lot of sense. It's not a good team, and their passing game is insanely limited because Justin Field, I mean, you want to talk about spraying the ball all over the place. He is very dangerous as a runner, as we saw in that first drive. Wow, was that painful to watch. I mean, the Jets at 7 yards, 8 yards, 9 yards, 10 yards. The saving grace again, the forced fumble inside the 5-yard line. But outside of that, the run defense remains problematic. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, I struggle with how I feel about the defense just about an hour out from this game, because I do think it was a step in the right direction, generally speaking, right? Obviously, they made some stops. They created a few turnovers. I think they deserve credit for that. Tyrell Dotson was opportunistic. He could have just sacked Justin Fields normally. He went for the football, got it out on 4th down. Same goes for Jack Jones. He hustled, stood in that play. Braylon Allen could have gone down. He might have scored, honestly, and Jack Jones punched it out. Mm-hmm. That was a great play, and I think they deserve credit for that. I think, though, the worry that I have for the defense, to me, is that I really felt like the Jets beat themselves more than the Dolphins beat them on that side of the ball. I think offensively it was a little bit different, but defensively, I think you saw the Jets get whatever they wanted in the running game, but the Dolphins jumped out to a 10-0 lead. The Jets still ran the ball and were relatively effective. And so that wasn't great. And I don't think Justin Fields played particularly well through the air, but I mean, a lot of open receivers, like the guys were open. Like they had enough passing game to generate yards when they wanted to get it. When they needed Garrett Wilson to make a play, he went out there and made a really good play on Rasul Douglas. They converted a bunch of 3rd and mediums through the air because of soft coverage and throws into open zone windows and poor tackling that allowed players to get upfield and get the first down. The field goal at the end of the half happens because 2 players missed Garrett Wilson on a play where he caught the ball a yard short of the sticks. And then, you have the obvious ones where, I mean, the Jets, what they run for like 87 yards or something on the opening drive or whatever it ended up being. Like it was, it was ridiculous. They got punched in the mouth. If Jack Jones doesn't make that play, it's 7-3. Instead it ends up being 10-0 because the Dolphins go down the field and score. So I struggle with the defense. I think the film will be interesting because, they mentioned this a lot on the broadcast, and I agree. Could not generate pressure with 4. Dolphins had to rely on blitzing again. That is not a sustainable model of defense for this football team. And that's what it's been through 4 weeks, even in the win tonight. And maybe the film says differently, and maybe the story that I write tomorrow will come out and I'll have a different opinion. But off the broadcast, watching that, it's not sustainable. They can't be blitzing this much and relying on that to get their pressure, especially when you are supposed to have a team that has really good individual pass rushers trying to get pressure with 4. Now, I think the Jets offensive line is actually a pretty good unit, stands some penalties. So there's that to consider as well. But I wasn't impressed with the defense. I just think it was a small step in the right direction. I think somebody asked Minkah Fitzpatrick post game if it was like, you're playing basketball, right? Just seeing the ball go through the hoop a couple times, getting a couple stops, getting a couple turnovers. Does that make an impact? I think, if you're looking on the bright side, that's what you're hoping for, right? Like this team feels a little bit of success. They start to settle into their roles, start to, be opportunistic at the right times and continue to create turnovers. That's the way that they're going to be successful. But I don't know that I see a sustainable model of success right now, even with this win.
No, I agree. And this is where I point out Justin Fields actually didn't feel like it, but his passer rating was 111. I
thought he was fine. The ball came out a little weird a couple times, and his receivers made some tough catches on some easy throws. But like generally speaking, open receivers, easy access throws, the Jets don't really throw the ball a ton. And I think if you play a team with a better quarterback and a comparable, even if slightly worse running game, I think this defense, we're probably not talking about them, even a little bit well.
No, and I will say this as I try to eliminate background noise around here on the touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson. Hopefully somebody gets the message on the touchdown pass from Justin Fields to Garrett Wilson at the end of the game. That was great coverage by Rasul Douglas. And he did the one thing that annoys the hell out of me out of cornerbacks. He never turned around. And I know it's easier said than done, but still, the best cornerbacks find a way to turn around. Hat tip, Jake Bailey. I mean, and it's not just because of the punt down at the 1 yard line at the end of the game. He had the punt that was fielded at the 3. I think it was Isaiah Williams. If he doesn't field it, who knows how it bounces? Maybe that's an inside the 20 again. The net is 43.5, 3 punts out of 4 inside the 20. And this is a guy who wasn't great last year. And I know a lot of Dolphin fans or a lot of media members figured that when the Dolphins signed Ryan Stonehouse in free agency early on, I was like, oh, that's the end for Jake Bailey. Jake Bailey, nope, won the battle, and dude's been lights out. And again, yes, I know it's a punter, it doesn't matter, but props to Devon Achane, another solid performance. That dude's a player. Did get the ball punched out of his hand in the fourth quarter when the Dolphins were in clock killing time. Luckily, there was no Jets defender close by. Patrick Paul was able to fall on it. Not much of a what's what I'm looking for, a carryover effect for Ollie Gordon, who had good success against the Bills tonight. 6 carries, 10 yards. That didn't happen. But again, a win's a win, and it's one of those where the Dolphins needed it. They're looking at a game at Carolina next Sunday, and Carolina just got waxed by the New England Patriots. So you look at that game, and logically, Dolphins should be able to win that, and all of a sudden they're 2-3, and then they play the Chargers, who now not only are missing their starting left tackle, Rashawn Slater, now they're missing the guy who took over for him, Joe Alt, and that Chargers offensive line is a mess. If you've seen any of their highlights the last 2 weeks, they can't keep anybody away from Justin Herbert. So again, Dolphins are not anywhere near good enough at this point to suggest a run to play or a playoff push is coming. All I'm saying is the opportunity is there to make a little bit of a run if the Dolphins solve the issues that they have. And the biggest one right now, I don't know if we're back to maybe run defense being the most severe one.
Yeah, it's a good point. And we ran a story about, reasons to be optimistic about the Dolphins earlier in the week. And one of the things that I pointed out was like the schedule really is pretty advantageous here. You get Carolina, you get LA, as you mentioned, and I don't remember in what order, but it's like Cleveland, Atlanta, right? Or like the next 2 after that. Ton of winnable football games right there. I'd argue all 4 of them are winnable football games. I don't know if they're going to win all 4, but they're all winnable games, right? Like you can come out of that stretch at, 3-4, 4-4, like whatever it ends up looking like. I think that you take that at that point, and then you even look ahead a bit. The Commanders, I know they're missing Jaden Daniels, but they didn't look as good with the limited reps that we saw for Jaden Daniels early in the season. Baltimore is working through a Lamar Jackson injury right now as well.
And on defense, everybody's hurt.
Right, and they don't have anybody on defense. And even when they had people on defense, they weren't stopping anybody anyway. So even that game feels a little bit more winnable. So look, if the Dolphins can, it's not going to be easy. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to happen. I'm not even optimistic that it's going to happen, but it's possible. It's the old, so you're telling me there's a chance meme, right? Like they're like, that's what it feels like right now. And look, I think Carolina's, I hate calling a trap game for a 1-3 football team, but kind of feels like a trap game. I think Carolina's going to come out very motivated after, getting their teeth kicked in by New England, and they were coming off a really big win for Atlanta. That was a big win for the head coach, the quarterback, oh, look at us. We finally figured it out. And then they went into New England and, were terrible. So they'll be very motivated for that game. Miami can't underestimate them. The Dolphins are not good enough to do that to any football team. But I agree with you. Everything is ahead of the Dolphins. An 0-3 start. The schedule looks okay. The team is getting better, if incrementally, I think, right? Like incrementally, right? Like the arrow's not pointing down. They haven't completely imploded. And so to me, I think, again, if you're looking for optimism, that's a place to find it. And I think that if the Dolphins can figure it out, there's a lot of winnable games coming up. I don't know that they're going to win them all, and they don't really have much room for error because they started 0-3, but this team's still not bad on paper. They're not. They need to get a little bit cleaner on defense. They need to and get a little bit more explosive on offense, but obviously that's going to be harder without Tyreek Hill. So, that's another point to kind of talk about. What does the offense look like without him, and how does that affect those matchups that we feel like are winnable?
Yeah, no, that's for down the line. What we can say about Tyreek that we should say is it's entirely possible, if not probable, that we have seen him in the Dolphin uniform for the last time. And at some point we can discuss looking back at the decision to make the trade for him, the decision to give him a new contract last September, that decision. I analyzed that.
Nailed it.
Because based on his contract, which contains no guaranteed salary next year, if the Dolphins make him a post-June 1 release, assuming he's back to being able to play again, this is a really bad injury. They'd say 30. Right now, his cap number is $51 million for 2026. They're not playing under that contract. They release him post-June 1. That chops off $39 million of it. So I think the expectation all along was that he wasn't going to be on the team in 2026 anyway. Now, basically, though, you've lost the ability to trade him.
Yeah, I think that's the big wrinkle. I don't know that they were going to be able to trade him anyway, right? Like I don't know. Maybe there's been some speculation that some teams like the Steelers and the Chiefs maybe would be interested around the trade deadline, and then you never know what happens in the offseason. Different teams lose certain players to free agency, or the draft doesn't go quite the way they think it's going to go, and all of a sudden they're interested in a receiver like Tyreek Hill. So maybe you could get something. I would imagine, though, the most likely outcome here is that the Dolphins designate Tyreek Hill as a post-June 1 cut pretty early in the offseason. They are allowed to designate that early. They don't have to wait for June 1. So I would imagine that'll be one of the earlier moves that they make. It sucks that it went out this way. Whatever you think or feel about Tyreek Hill, very good football player. It sucks to see it end like it did tonight. And hopefully, he's able to recover and get back onto the field, obviously wishing him the best. But I think the most likely outcome was always going to be whether he went for 300 yards tonight or what ended up happened, that he was not going to be on the Miami Dolphins in 2026. It was just a matter of, would he be able to retain some trade value in the offseason? And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have any. He'll be 32 at the start of the 2026 season. His birthday's in March. He was banged up last year. He had 2 wrist surgeries in the offseason. We heard about some lower body things that he had last year as well. It wasn't just the wrist. And now you have a really devastating knee injury. And again, wishing him all the best, hope he gets back on the field. But, if I'm a general manager of an opposing team, I'm not particularly interested in acquiring that player via trade. And so if I'm the Dolphins, I think it just ends up being a post-June 1 cut. And and that's the end of it. But like you said, I think that was ultimately going to be the outcome no matter what happened this season or tonight.
No question. And you mentioned last year, and then in 2023, as I mentioned earlier, he had the high ankle sprain on that hip drop tackle in the Monday night game against Tennessee. So, and I think I made this point earlier on this podcast. Father Time's has a pretty damn good record, and you start getting injured when you're a smaller guy at a skill position. Those things generally start to snowball a little bit, and it's one thing after another, and unfortunately it sucks, but it's the way it is. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Usually I say about half an hour, and then we hop in the comments, but guess what? I want to start doing some interaction with the fans that we have. Appreciate everybody who's on here. We're close to 500 people on here. Tell your friends who are not on here checking this out. The hell are you doing? What's wrong with you? Okay. Here we go. Noel B1, my man, thank you so very much for the contribution. And again, I'm going to say it individually, but as always, very much appreciated. Anybody who kind enough to donate to the podcast, it is greatly appreciated. Noel B1, who is one of my favorites, says seeing Tyreek carted off really took the thrill out of this win for me. Can't stop thinking about it. It's just, damn, yeah, that was rough. But if you saw Tyreek, I mean, he almost had a smile on his face, gave them the number one as he was carted off. And Mike McDaniel said he was like, or I think, no, it was one of the players said he was like, pulling jokes with his teammates, wanted to,
If Teron Armstead just tweeted that Tyreek Hill FaceTimed him from the hospital. He said he's in good spirits, said he was laughing through the pain to avoid passing out. And Teron Armstead added crazy, which fair. But so seems like Hill is taking it about as well as you possibly can, given the situation, and it's tough.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, it sucks to no end, but again, it's not a whole lot you can do. Matto, thank you very much for the contribution. Looking for a silver lining, but forcing the defense towards a more balanced offense might be good. Tyreek opens things up, but the Dolphins seem to be at their best when they are a more run-first team. I would take issue with that. To me, when they were at their most explosive in 2022 and 2023, Tyreek's the one who made things go. And don't think for a second that Tyreek's presence doesn't open things up, not just for the passing game, but for the running game as well. Again, because of the respect that he commands and the fact that he gets opposing, DBs to back off a little bit immediately before the snap because they're so scared of his speed. So it's a major loss in every facet. That's not to suggest the Dolphin offense can't have any success, but this is the most explosive player on this offense, and there's not a close second.
Yeah, I think in the short term, I agree with you. Long term wise, I think that there could be some benefit into figuring out what this team looks like as a run first football team. I think that the Dolphins, one of their biggest issues for under Mike McDaniel, and we don't know what the season's going to look like and whether or not he stays or whatever ends up happening. But let's assume for a second that he saves his job, just for the sake of an argument. I think this team needs to evolve. And you cannot evolve in a scenario in which you're trying to feed Tyreek Hill the ball 80 times. I'm not saying that that's not the best course of action if you have that player on the football team, but ultimately that is not a sustainable way to play offense. And that has been proven to the Miami Dolphins for 3 years now. And so I think that there could be some benefit into trying to evolve this offense. And I think you even started to see some of that tonight with a lot of the under center work that they were doing, a lot of the heavier run formations that they were showing. I think that's the next step for this team. Now, Tyreek Hill could have been a part of that 110%. You don't need to not have Tyreek Hill to do that. But in this case, I think it might force the Dolphins to do that a little bit more. And to me, long term, that is a much more sustainable way to win big games against good teams in those playoff windows. Just throwing the ball up top, Tyreek Hill is not going to get it done. It hasn't gotten done for 3 straight years. So I think there's some truth to that, but ultimately I'm with you. The Dolphins, I don't want to call it a benefit, right? Like it's not a plus. It's forced evolution. And so we'll see if it ends up working. It might not. It might blow up in their face. Then maybe they can't run the ball. I don't know. We'll find out probably. But, to me, there's some long-term benefits there.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned early on, maybe it's going to force them to move in a direction of being a different style of offense.
Yeah.
We shall see. Nick, I'm going to assume it's pronounced Bazar. If it's not, I apologize. Thank you very much for the contribution. Jack Jones has been one of the lone bright spots of our defense this year. I absolutely agree with you. The kid's been good.
Yeah, he's been fun. Yeah, no complaints, really. I don't even think he's gotten beat for like a big play. I was trying to think. Maybe in week 1, he might have, like a miscommunication.
Buffalo, there's a TD pass to Dalton Kincaid down the left sideline. He got a late jump to him and took a bad angle, and Kincaid got him and scored.
That might have been it, right? Yeah, he's been all right. I think we could talk about this a bit. Like, I think the corners have been like okay, right? Yeah, for the most part. I feel like I have a bigger problem with like safeties, linebackers, and defensive linemen. Not the corner. Like, I thought the corners were bad against Indy. I didn't think they were good against Indy, but I think like since then they've been like passable, like just okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. The D-line to me has been very disappointing, although Zach Sealer finally noticed him. He had back-to-back stops for a loss in the ground game, but outside of that, it was like, oof. And Kenneth Grant, I didn't notice him very much. I did notice him like one play early on where he just got blown off the line of scrimmage. And I was like, oh, not good. So EJ Barrow, EJ, thank you very much for the contribution. Gentlemen, it seemed to us passes had more oomph. A couple of times it looked like a howitzer, also surprised with his mobility. I think howitzer, I would say, to quote this great skit on Saturday Night Live, simmer down now. No, howitzer. But yes, I did notice as well a little bit more juice on his passes. And no, this is not me to a hating tour. We'll never howitzer. That's not what he's got. He seemed to me a lot. What I noticed with Tua tonight was a lot more decisive, less skittish in the pocket, and stepping into his throws a lot more than he did the past couple of weeks, where a lot of his throws seem to be like with his feet not set, where he doesn't have the arm strength to compensate when that happens. That's what I noticed from Tua tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I had the same point that I was going to bring up. I thought his lower half was better tonight, and I think that led to the kind of expected ball speed that we get from Tua, right? I certainly would not classify anything that Tua's ever thrown as a howitzer. I respect your gusto, but that's not going to do it for me. But I felt like this was how I expect Tua to look from a velocity perspective, where in the first 3 weeks of the season, I was a little bit concerned, a little worried. And I think I expressed that on the show a couple times. So I'm happy to see his lower half kind of sort itself out and the arm to kind of come back to where I expect it to be for him, relatively speaking.
Right. His calling card is always going to be getting the ball out quick and accuracy.
Yeah.
It's never going to be the arm.
No.
That's just a fact. Matt, again, thank you very much, Matt. Much appreciated. Just happy we don't have to play the where is our first win game now. Thanks for the streams as always. Well, you're quite welcome, and thanks for watching. And the Jets now, I know in 2019 when the Dolphins started off with 0-6, 0-7, whatever, in the tank for 2 a year, their first one was against the Jets. So, and that was the last season where it took a while for them to get a win. So, but yes, no, it's up. Wait, dude, here, be honest, Matt, if they hadn't won tonight, we would be looking at maybe Carolina next week's the first win. So. Big Bad Brett. Thank you very much, Brett. Much appreciated. 1990 Dolphins, here we go. Now that we have our modern Terrell Edmonds, LOL, that's funny. Brett has this theory heading into the season that the Dolphins could be like the 1990 team. Of which little was expected, but then surprised very much on defense, wound up finishing 12-4, which their best record since the 80s. Unfortunately, lost to the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round when the defense couldn't hold up anymore, and lost 44-34. However, Brett, I will have to correct you, my man. The Dolphins tight end who you're referencing here as a comp from Darren Waller was Terrell Edmonds. Terrell Edmonds is one of his 3 sons who played in the NFL, along with Tremaine Edmonds, former first-round pick of the Bills, now with the Bears, and Trey Edmonds, who was a running back, I want to say. I don't know if he's still in the league. Terrell Edmonds is also a former first-round pick. He for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't know which team he's with these days. So, Terrell Edmonds, in fact, was one of the – is he the only one? No, I think he's one of 2 Dolphin tight ends who ever made the Pro Bowl, the other one being Keith Jackson. So, Matt again, thank you very much, Matt. The broadcast guys, then Lewis R, Dan Orlovsky, Lewis Riddick called out the bad high pad level on the Finns defense. Have you seen that in other games, or is that a scheme choice? Trust me, it's not a scheme choice because coaches always teach pad level low, lower man wins. So no, it's not a teaching point whatsoever. Have I noticed that? Yeah, maybe a couple of times.
Yeah, I have. I'll be honest. When the Dolphins are on defense, I watch the defensive line on every play. It's just my favorite position to watch. Yeah, they're too high. I do think that is an interesting conversation with a player like Kenneth Grant specifically, because like he's just big. You're going to deal with pad level issues with Grant, generally speaking, for his entire career. The question is, how much can you get him to get it down? He's too high. I think guys like Matt Butler's too high. I think Benito Jones is too high. Sealer's been higher than normal this year with his pads. Jordan Phillips is never high with his pads because he's short. You don't need to worry about that with him, ironically. So yeah, it's been like a bit of a theme this year. And I think that's, I thought it was definitely a theme on that first possession because the Jets just blew them off the ball. Yep. So definitely something to work on, but yeah, not by choice. It's a football in general is always low man wins, right? You can talk about that with quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, defensive linemen, linebackers, safeties, corners, whatever, every position. Low man wins for the most part, except when you're jumping up in the ball to catch, jumping up in the air to catch the ball. That's it.
Yeah, and look at it this way: look at the tush push and see what the Eagles' offensive linemen are doing. They're going really, really low.
Yep.
So, and in fact, when the Dolphins drafted Raekwon Davis and were using him kind of almost in a nose tackle position, I asked the defensive line coach at the time, it wasn't Austin Clark like it is now, how big of a concern it was that you're looking at a guy who's 6'7", and the pad level, because if you look the nose tackles, most of your best nose tackles in the history of the NFL are 6 feet or even 6'1". Yep. What they are, they're like built like fridges. They're like 6'1", 350 or something. You don't see guys that are that very tall for that very reason. So. Toby, thank you very much, Toby. Much appreciated. Most disappointed team at 1-3: Baltimore, Houston, Miami. Ooh, that's a good question. You want to go first?
I mean, it has to be the Ravens. They have Super Bowl aspirations. Whatever you think of Miami or Houston, by the way, I did not think Houston was going to be good this year. That offensive line was an unserious reconstruction of that group. But they tanked your season last year, and then you were like, what if we made it worse? And then they ran it out there again. Unserious behavior in Houston. I live there, so I have the front row seat. Baltimore has Super Bowl aspirations, and they're 1-3. Their defense cannot stop anybody. Even when they were healthy, they weren't stopping anyone. They have blown multiple games that they should have won against good teams. Lamar Jackson is hurt. It's Baltimore. I'm disappointed with the Dolphins as well, but nationally speaking, the expectations for the Miami Dolphins were very, very low this year. And so I don't know that it's necessarily a surprise that they're 1-3 to some people. It might be to us, to the national media. I don't know that it is. To Baltimore, yeah, that's a huge surprise.
Yeah, and I will say this about Houston. Remember that they fired their offensive coordinator last year, and that's Bobby Slowick, who's now a Dolphins assistant. Clearly, he wasn't the major problem. The problem was that offensive line last year was, as my friend Omar would say, booty cheeks. And like you said, they didn't do a whole lot. In fact, the biggest move they made on their offensive line is they traded Laramie Tunsil to Washington. So that's not exactly going to make it better. Their defense should be hellacious, but at some point, there's only so much you can do as far as carrying. Obviously, I'm with Dante here. And then Baltimore, which couldn't stop anybody now, is without Madubuike, who's out for the year. Marlon Humphrey's going to miss some time. Roquan Smith didn't play or missed some time against the Chiefs. I mean, it's an absolute mess over there. But clearly that one. Noel, thank you very much. What the hell is wrong with the run defense? How can Weaver get that tightened up? What's wrong with the run defense? Yes.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I don't know that this is like this kind of gets into the debate of like how much is on coaching and how much is on players. I don't really know that run run defense isn't like a scheme thing per se. You teach guys to fill gaps, right? Like that's the scheme. You need people to be aware of where they're supposed to be. You can call like some run blitzes. That's like a thing that you can do. But like ultimately, run defense at the end of the day is your big people need to beat the hell out of the other team's big people in the trenches, and your linebackers need to flow downhill. And like, honestly, the Dolphins are getting their butt kicked for the most part. Like, I don't know what else to say besides that. Like, you can only do so much. You can scheme up pass coverage and pressure all day. You can cook crazy coverage rotations and send blitzers from every which direction, from every level of the field as much as you want. At the end of the day, run defense is about your big people versus the other team's big people. That's what it's about. And right now, the Dolphins' defensive line is not getting the job done, and the linebackers have been suspect. I think Jordan Brooks played well tonight. I think he's played okay this year. Not a big Tyrell Dotson guy this year. Don't know how he played tonight. I didn't pay a ton of attention to him outside of the strip sacks. So we'll see. Maybe he's getting better. But it didn't seem like it tonight, given how many, almost gave 200 rushing yards to the Jets tonight. So like, I think.
How dare you say that? It wasn't 200 yards. It was 197.
I was about to say, I knew it was close. You scared me for a second. I was like, oh God. But anyway, like, at the end of the day, like guys need to stack blocks, beat somebody up front. Like that's what run defense is. I don't know what you want Anthony, unless you want Anthony Weaver put the pads on and go out there and start jumping gaps.
No, and they're not winning up front a ton, which is a major problem. And that includes, it includes Zach Sealer, unfortunately. Kenneth Grant is not, maybe he's going to be good at some point. Right now, he's very, very meh. And we need to say that in fairness to the 197 they gave up, but even if you take that away, it's still a bad total that they gave up. The 43-yard touchdown by Justin Fields is an absolutely busted play where the Dolphins got massive pressure immediately and he just escaped the pocket, and all of a sudden his athleticism and he's in the open field and we got a major problem. But to me, like you mentioned, the biggest issue is they're not shedding blocks. Brett, thank you very much again for the contribution. Much appreciated. At least our backup kicker is good. So is Dante. Just saying. That was a friendly joke for the channel. Dante, you are spot on.
I'll take it. Brett. I love it. Right. I'll take the win.
There you go. Birthday salami, one of the best handles ever. Thank you, birthday or salami, whichever. Much appreciated. Sad if that's the last time we see 10 in a Finns jersey, but thanks for the memories. What's your favorite cheetah play?
To me, it's the Chargers touchdown, the game winner, or the deep ball over the top where he kind of slid and caught it. Tua stepped up in the pocket. That was probably the most hope I had that this Dolphins team would like do something relevant. Right. See, that game.
Yeah, but that third down throw is that to me that's the best pass of Tua's career. That's way more. It was a nice catch, but that was way more Tua than it was Tyreek. To me, maybe, and I don't know that it was necessarily a great play because there was such a massively blown coverage. But week 2 of that first year, when Baltimore decided to play the nobody cover Tyreek defense for the game tying touchdown, and he's racing to the end zone, he's looking back, he's doing one of those. Actually, that was pretty cool.
Oh, you know what mine was? Actually, I take it back. Mine was the one where he picked up that fumble and they thought it was a dead play and he ran into the end zone. That's my favorite Tyreek Hill play. That's one of the funniest things I've seen happen on a football field in the past couple of years. That was hilarious. And
watch the replay. It's like, and I think Teron Armstead actually said he was like batting it to him because the ball was on the ground and Teron was like kind of doing one of these like in Tyreek's direction, and he just ran around the pile. That, however, came in a loss. That came in the 23-17 loss against the Chargers in 2022. So, Shoogie Woogie, thank you very much. Less predictable without Reek. Yeah, except is it bad to be predictable when it's 3rd and 6 and you go to Tyreek for 8 yards? I think that's a good predictable though.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see the only way the less predictable thing works is if the Dolphins lean into it. And that has not exactly been Mike McDaniel's strength over the past couple of years. He's more of I want to do what I want to do, and I'm going to jam players into situations in which we're going to do the same thing, no matter who they are or what tools I have available to me, which is why the backup quarterbacks have been one of the reasons the backup quarterbacks have been not very good. And so you can only be non-predictable as if you lean into it, right? Like you gotta like get under center, run the ball, and call play action off of that, which they did tonight. So maybe it's a trend. We'll see. I'm skeptical though, because I could see Mike coming out there and just calling the game like he has Tyreek Hill. That would not shock me. It would disappoint me, but it wouldn't shock me.
Okay. Here we go. Brett again. Thank you very much again, Brett. Farrell Edmonds. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so Terrell Owens is a common name. Good haircut, Poop for the win. LOL. You like the haircut? It's got too much salt there, you know? Salt and pepper and too much salt. But hey, okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, Brett. This is why I kind of can live with the way the hair looks, which is why I'm not wearing the Expos hat, because when I don't like the way the hair looks, I wear the Expos hat. But that's part of the reason. That's part of the decision-making process. Marcus Nesbitt, thank you very much for the contribution. The backup right guard, Strange, really held up pretty well tonight, and I really want to see Taj Washington get a chance because although he's not Hill, he's 1 of 1. He's very elusive after the catch. I did. Again, I'm not necessarily focusing on the offensive line the entire play, but based on what I was observing, it looked to me like Cole Strange had a very strong game. And Taj Washington, he'll be the 5th wide receiver. And no, he's not Tyreek Hill.
No, he's not. As for Strange, like I tweeted this after the game, like I gave him the best compliment I could possibly give an offensive lineman. I forgot he was on the field. And you know what? Given what they got from Keon Smith and Daniel Brunskill, that's a gigantic compliment. I know that's going to be probably one of the first things that I watch for on the All-22 in the morning is how good was Cole Strange? Was he like just there, which is fine, by the way. If he was just okay, I'm fine with that. That's a completely acceptable outcome. Or if he was, opening some holes in the running game and really holding up on an island in pass pro, I'm not really sure. We'll see. But either way, I think a positive development for the Dolphins seems like Strange the best option at right guard. And that's pretty big given that they signed him after week 1. So, that's a pretty good pickup, even if it's just ends up being the one game. Who knows?
Well, no, I agree. Actually, the biggest thing I noticed about him during the game was he was wearing the Guardian cap.
He was, yeah.
So, Big Bad Brett, thank you once again. Run defense equals pad level, full stop. Bingo.
Yeah, correct. Good take.
Birthday salami, is Zeke Biggers that bad? No. First of all, thank you. No, but here's the thing, and this is where, and I know that I had some people call me Debbie Downer on social media tonight because I don't necessarily always join in the the happy sunshine, everything is going to be wonderful and all that. When a lot was made of, my God, those rookie defensive tackles all look awesome and all that, and I'm like, first of all, it's training camp. Second of all, is they making plays here and there. So yes, absolutely be optimistic, but this notion that all 3 of them, boom, are going to really kick some ass from the start was completely overblown and borderline ridiculous from the start to me. And Zeke Biggers, again, he's got potential and all that, but he's clearly not there. And the Dolphins clearly see him as defensive lineman number 6 behind Sealer, Benito Jones, Matthew Butler, Kenneth Grant, and Jordan Phillips. So it's not a question that he's that bad, but he's a rookie 7th round pick. And as I'm very fond of saying, he was picked where he was picked for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. He's a 7th round pick. I don't really have expectations for him to do anything this year, frankly. I think it's for him, it's a win that he made the 53-man roster. And I'm not saying that to take anything away from him, but there are a lot of 7th round picks who do not make their team's 53-man roster. They're on the practice squad or they get cut and bounce around for a while. So ultimately, I think Biggers is fine. A 7th round pick that makes the 53-man roster. He was active when Benito Jones got hurt. He played in that game. I think he played 12 snaps or something, if I remember correctly. So I don't know what else you want from a 7th round pick at defensive tackle, especially given that 2 players at the same position were drafted ahead of him in the same draft. So correct. I think Biggers is doing fine, frankly.
No, correct. So to me, actually, if I were to complain about one of the rookie defensive tackles, I think I'd complain about Kevin Grant and Jordan Phillips way before I would. Matto, thank you very much again. Last rando question to bug you. Does Jason Taylor have a good relationship with the Finns? Naturally was watching his kid play for the Jets tonight. Mason Taylor, by the way, 5 catches, 65 yards with a long of 27. Could have had a long gain on the one where he snuck out on to the right side. There might have been a pick. He was wide open in the field and he stumbled after catching the ball. He did get the first down. But to answer your question, yes, Jason Taylor has a good relationship with the Dolphins. As you mentioned, though, if Mason's playing against the Dolphins. Sorry, Dolphins, but he's going to root for the Jets. Toby, thank you very much again, Toby. Jalen Wright, doghouse, no plays again. No, in fact, he didn't play at all. No, he's not in the doghouse, except he's coming back from a knee injury. Ollie Gordon had a very good performance against the Buffalo Bills. They're using Malik Washington as a runner as well, so there are only so many carries to go around. And for the time being, Jalen Wright is not, and he's a little bit redundant in terms of what he provides as far as HN. He's more of a speed guy than anything else, and Gordon is your big bruiser back. So I don't know exactly how much of a role there is for him right now unless somebody else gets hurt.
Right. It's a math game, right? Like Devon Achane was always going to dominate the carries for this team, whether Jalen Wright got hurt or not. So you want to look at the numbers. Achane had 20 carries tonight. Ollie Gordon had 6. Malik Washington had 2. Tua had 3. Those don't count. So you're looking at 8 carries not going to Devon Achane. 6 of them go to Ollie Gordon, who I think we would both agree outperformed Jalen Wright even when Jalen Wright was healthy. And I think they like what Malik Washington can do on some of those design touches. Could maybe 1 or 2 of those go to Jalen Wright? Sure. But why? Seriously, what's the argument? I feel bad for Jalen Wright. It's a bad break for sure. And he certainly had a chance to break out this year, but I think Ollie Gordon was outperforming him anyway, and Malik Washington's probably just better with the ball in his hands, or at least has the trust of the coaching staff right now with the ball in his hands. I don't know if Jalen Wright's done anything wrong necessarily, just hasn't been on the field. He got hurt. It's off to a slow start. I'm assuming we'll see him at some point.
Yeah, he didn't look in camp. I will say that he did not look good in camp at all. There was
so I don't know where he's going to get the touches.
I will say this though. I saw there was a national writer, might have been ESPN, who were suggesting that he may be somebody the Dolphins would want to trade because they're not using him. Well, they weren't using him at the time because he was injured and they're coming back from an injury. And also the Dolphins, remember, gave up a 3rd-round pick to take him in the 4th round. Yes, gave up a 3rd-round pick this year to take him in the 4th round last year. I don't think they're going to give up on him that quickly unless they get a really good offer, which they're not going to get because he hasn't proven anything. So. Birthday Salami, thank you very much. I like this one. Best haircut styles on any Dolphins podcast. Why, thank you, sir.
Heck yeah. Love it.
Big Bad Brett, thank you very much, Brett. Very appreciated. Very appreciative. Strange plus Malik Washington is better than Tyreek and bad right guard play. 1990, here we come. Not going to let this go, guys.
I appreciate your commitment to the bit. I appreciate it as a fellow bit person. I appreciate it. It's good stuff.
I'm trying to remember that. I do know. I think they lost in week 2 maybe that year, and then I don't remember what they did. I know the opener was a win at New England, and I know they got off to a very good start. I mean, they were 12-4. Sorry, I don't see quite this team. It would be nice. I mean, you sign me up for 12 wins.
Yeah.
Monty Montgomery, thank you very much for the contribution, Monty. Much appreciated. Tim Bowens was a great DT. Keith Jackson debut against the Bills in 1992. Better than Waller tonight. Okay. And quick history lesson. This is a very cool history lesson. Keith Jackson was I don't know if he made the Pro Bowl, but he was a Pro Bowl caliber tight end with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was one of 4 players who sued the NFL to become free agents. This is before there was free agency. And then this was late September. A judge ruled that the 4 players, the other 3 escape me right now, were to become free agents. The Dolphins won a bidding war to sign Keith Jackson. That was on a Tuesday. On Sunday, they played the Bills in Buffalo. And they won 37-10. This was a game where Lewis Oliver had 3 picks, including a 3-yard pick six. And Keith Jackson, if I remember correctly, his numbers were 4 for 64 and 1 touchdown. Darren Waller's numbers were 3 for 27, but 2 touchdowns. They were both. Can we say tie? Monty, you okay with that? Tie? And Tim Bowens was an absolutely fabulous defensive tackle, without question. Ricky Rodriguez, thoughts on those uniforms? By the way, thank you for the contribution, Ricky. I love them. I like them a lot too myself, actually.
I did not like them when they were announced, but they have grown on me a significant amount. Like I would say I don't love them, but I do like them. They grew on me. I'll give them that. I think when I saw like the helmet in action, and I thought for like a night game with the lights reflecting off of all of it, I thought they popped. I think that got me. So they grew on me, but I did not like them at release. I was not a fan, but it's not the win. It was early in the pregame show, but the win helps. Doesn't hurt. But yeah, they've grown on me. They're okay.
I will tell you this. I don't know if I like it more. I like my favorite combination. I love the orange jersey, and call me weird, but I like the all and I like the all aqua uniforms. And Dante's shaking his head like.
I have my like really. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I don't like the Dolphins uniforms. I don't like them.
Oh, I see that.
I think since the rebrand, they're bad. I liked the old Dolphin with the football helmet. I love the throwbacks. I can't do it with the new ones. They're just. I feel this way about a lot of NFL team jerseys. They're just like so basic. They just have no life. They have no flair, no artistic goal. They're just bland minimalism. I don't like it. I'm sorry.
Artistic goal is funny. Charles, thank you very much for the contribution. If the defense keeps playing like this, do you think Christian Wilkins could return once he is healthy? I asked Chris Greer that very question after he was released by the Raiders, and Chris Greer's answer was that they would not close the door. I have no idea how close he is to being able to play. I know he has not taken a visit or had a tryout with any team. Based on everything that I read and heard over the summer, didn't sound like he was anywhere near being able to return. I don't know that there were any bridges burned, so I think it would be a possibility, but the problem there is, again, is he a progress stopper for Kenneth Grant if you sign him?
Yeah, there's something weird going on with the Christian Wilkins story. I don't know what it is, but like the reports out of Las Vegas are very strange. I don't know how much of it is true, how much of it isn't true. I'm not going to speculate, but it's all just very strange, right? Like it's something really bad must have happened for the Raiders to move on from him like they did. They owe him a lot of money still, and they're trying to void his deal.
Correct.
Right? Like something like again, and when you asked Chris Greer that question, he said like, hey, if I remember correctly, like part of his answer was like, all right, he has a great relationship with everybody in this building. We really like Christian. So maybe that's not a problem if he comes back to Miami, but like, man, that's a really weird situation. And I think that's going to take a bit to play out before he returns to a team.
Well, it could be that he's nowhere near ready to play, because I would think at some point he'd want to be like, okay, can we get this resolved? And then it's going to go to arbitration or however they settle disputes between ownership and the NFLPA. But again, my question is, if you're the Dolphins, you want Kenneth Grant to play a lot. You want, well, Jordan Phillips is not quite apples to apples, but Kenneth Grant's apple to apples. Do you want Christian Wilkins to come there? Is Christian Wilkins going to be okay with being a mentor and a backup to Kenneth Grant? Or he's going to be looking for something more? I don't know. So I see where you're coming from. I don't know that it's realistic because, again, the Dolphins spent a first-round pick on a defensive lineman. Marcus says the uniforms grow on you like a fungus. I kid. LOL. No, I like them. I think my first thought was like, kind of weird, but seeing them in action tonight, yeah, I really like them. I mean, I'm completely indifferent about the uniforms now. I don't get the massive fascination for the old school uniforms. I think those are nice to bring out once or twice a year, but they look old, maybe because I'm old enough to have seen the Dolphins play in the 70s. So it's like, to me, it's like I'm taken back in time. I don't think it's a good look for 2025. But I know I have to duck when I say that because there are a lot of fans who are passionate, especially the guy or gal who has a Twitter handle of make the throwbacks permanent.
Yeah, I prefer the throwbacks, but I don't really have strong opinions about jerseys. Like even the ones that I like, I'm just like, yeah, like they're cool. Obviously, I gave a bit of an impassioned art speech about the current jerseys. I don't like them, but I also like don't care enough to see them switched out. It doesn't really make that big of a difference to me. I will say that I really like the Dolphins' primary colors. I think like the aqua orange, white color scheme is like very good. I think it's one of the best in the league personally, but the jerseys just don't do it for me. But the new ones were nice. I liked how they looked on TV tonight for sure.
Okay. And they produced a win. That's the most important thing.
That's true. They are 1-0.
Yep. And we're going to wrap it up on that note. Want to thank everyone for joining us. Love the chat. Love the interaction with you guys. He is Dante Collinelli. Check out his fine work on Miami Dolphins on SI.com, where all the content is free. My content's there as well. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. We'll be back tomorrow. Mike McDaniel speaking to the media at 2 p.m. He may have more details on the Tyreek Hill injury. Again, not that we need to really know a ton more, other than it's very serious and he's going to go on IR. But we'll certainly pass along his thoughts and all that good stuff. So thanks everyone for watching. Again, Dolphins 27, Jets 21. Dolphins now 1-3, heading to Carolina next Sunday. So thanks everyone.